Hello and welcome again. In this video we are going to cover some basics about component development in C++ Builder. So when it comes to component development, it's a very wide subject, and uh, like I said, this is just going to be an introductory video for all of you starting, just to see how things are done, what is the approach, what is the strategy, etc. If you are going to develop components, I would definitely recommend that you use Delphi if you have it. Not many of you have both Delphi and C++ Builder, therefore I'll just use C++ Builder. Why to use Delphi if you can? Because if you create a component inside Delphi, then you will be able to use it both in Delphi and C++ Builder, because C++ Builder supports Delphi code. But if you create a component for C++ Builder, then you will be able to use it only in C++ Builder. So but like I said, not many of you have both Delphi and C++ Builder installed, so I'll just focus myself today on the component development in C++ Builder. But still, the strategy is pretty much the same. It's just some minor difference in the source code, so later on you will be able to translate that code to Delphi very easily. Okay, let's create some basic simple component. I'll choose component, new component. And like I said, you can create components for C++ Builder or Delphi, and you can create them for VCL or FireMonkey framework. So we are going to create a simple non-visual component. Components can also be visual, but in this case we are going to create a non-visual component for VCL in C++. Clicking next. Now we need to choose ancestor component. As our component is going to be non-visual, we are going to choose the component as our ancestor. The component. Next. So this is the dialog that's important, and we need to define what is going to be the class name, meaning the component name. And we are going to create a simple non-visual component that will represent a complex number. So complex number. Palette page. The question is, where do we want to place that component? In what palette? You can choose one of the existing ones, or you can create your own palette. So I'm just going to create my own palette for demonstration. My components. So I'm going to have a palette named my components, and inside that palette I'm going to have the complex number component. Each component is placed inside the unit, meaning it has its own CPP and H file. And we need to specify where is going to be the location of that unit. And I have prepared the folder here. I'll just copy that folder and paste it here. And I'm not going to call it component 1, I'm going to call it complex number. Next, and this is the last dialog. The thing is that when you create a component, you need to place it in some kind of package. Package is a form of DLL, and package can contain one or more components. The question is, do we have an existing package? No, we don't, so we'll install our new component inside the new package. So we are going to create a package and a component that is going to be placed inside that package. Next. Package name. So I need to specify package name as well. I'll use the same folder to save that package. And I'll call it simply my package. And I think the extension is needed here. Yes, I think it's needed. Yes. I'm actually creating a project for that package. So this is C++ build project. Description is not mandatory. Finish. And I'm going to save everything in that same folder. Okay, he started by compiling the component first, and that's why there is an error probably here, because he should compile the, try to create a package first. Let's see. Project. Let's try to build the package. Okay, it's done, no errors. Great. So this is the package, and this is the complex number component that is located in that package. And if you open this complex number CPP, you can see that that component will be registered in the My Components palette. And if I open the header file, I can see the class that represents that component. And as you can see, that class is pretty much empty. So what I can do is right-click and say Install. And now it says the following new components have been registered, T complex number. Now let's see how that looks like. So I'll just create a new project, new Windows VCL application. And I'll go down, as you can see, here is a new palette called My Components. If I expand it, I see my new component, T complex number. I'll place it here. And this new component has three default properties like bindings, name, and tag, but nothing else. There are no events as well. So it's pretty much empty component. Now let's try to expand it a little bit and add something inside the component. So a component can contain fields and properties. So fields are like underlying data that is protected inside the component and exposed by using properties. So we are going to create some fields, and then we are going to create properties that expose those fields. So I'm going to create a field, let's say double field, a real part of the complex number, and a field imaginary part of that complex number. So these are two fields. Now I'm going to create two properties that work with those fields. So I am going to declare those properties under the published part of the class, which means that those properties will be visible in Object Inspector. If you can also have properties that are not visible in Object Inspector. For example, you can place them under the public part, and you can still use those properties, but only inside the code. So I'll say property. It's a double property, meaning double the type, because I'm having the real part property, and it will work with this field, and this field is a type of double. That means that the property is also type of double. Equals. What I need to specify now is what happens when I read the property and what happens when I want to write the value to a property. So pretty much I'm saying when I read the property, I'm going to read the value of this field, and when I write to a property, I'm going to write to the same field. Okay, very simple. And I'm going to do the same when it comes to imaginary part. And okay, so we can test this. Install. Okay, it's been installed. Now let's return to our test application. And if I click on this component, now as you can see, we have two new properties, imaginary part and the real part of the complex number. Okay, these are two new properties. And if I change the value of one of them, it will be placed inside the fields that we already defined. Okay, let's try to make something that's not. Okay, so he automatically recognized that he expects a floating point value, and he didn't allow us to enter this set of characters. So let's 10.1, it works. Great. So now you saw how to add properties to a component, and so that they are visible inside Object Inspector. What you can do also is to have, for example, read-only properties. Let's say that we have a property that is called version. And we are not going to read the value of this property version from a field. but you can also define get and set functions or methods that can be used to get or set the value of the property. So I'm going to create a public fast. Well, I need to specify this when I specify methods for reading and writing the properties. So fast call is then mandatory, and I'm going to say double get version, and let's just return 1.1. Let's say that that's our version number, or 1.0, doesn't matter. Also, then when I read the version property, I'm going to say get that version property from get version method. Okay, and it will return double, and version is double. The same thing can be done for write property. So I'll just say set version. Normally you would have a parameter here which would say what is the new version number, but we are going to create this version number as read-only, so we don't want someone to be able to change it, so we'll just comment the line here, and I'm going to use this set version to write here. Now let's install that again. Okay, let's back to our test application. Click here, and you have here version 1. Okay, if I try to change it to version 1.1, it goes back to version 1, because we specified that nothing happens when you try to change the version number. Okay, nothing happens, and when you read it, you will always read 1.0. Okay, so this is how you can create a read-only property. Also, properties can be pretty complex. For example, here you have a property that has a checkbox. Also, you can have a property with this combo box. You can have also complex properties that use property pages, meaning some custom dialogues that can help you to define the property values, etc. So, like I said, that is a really wide subject. We can, for example, demonstrate, let's say that we have not double but boolean field that is called field, let's call it active, just for demonstration. Okay, and we would have a property that is type of bool. We would call it active, and when reading and writing, we'll use this field active. Okay, and we're going to start again. Okay, click here, and now, as you can see, I have a new property active, and since it's a bool property, okay, bool property, object inspector automatically adjusted itself and showed you a checkbox here, which you can use to define or initialize that property value. Okay, so which is really nice, right? So like I said, maybe you have some property with a custom type, and then you can create your own dialog inside a component that will pop up and help the programmer to define the property value. Okay, so this is how to work with properties. It's, like I said, very simple. Things get complicated if you try to use, if you want to implement the property pages, but that's for another time. Also, you can use methods or functions inside components. You don't need to work only with properties. So let's say that we have a function that will return the modulus of the complex number, and that's a double get modulus. and it will simply return the modulus, which is um, n square of that. I think that should be correct. Now install that. Okay, now back to our test application, and I'm going to place a button here, and I'm going to say show message complex number 1. Complex number 1 is this component, and inside it get modulus. So how will he calculate the modulus? Well, it will depend on the values of this imaginary and real part. So let's say that imaginary and real part are both 1, so we will have a square of 2 as a result. Let's see. Click, and we got the correct result. So this is how you can implement methods inside components as well. And this method use the values that were stored in these properties, right? Okay, so you saw now how to create properties, how to create properties that are read-only. You also saw how Object Inspector automatically detects the property type and adjusts itself. For example, in this case, Object Inspector automatically added checkbox for this active property because it's a type of bool. What's left? Well, we can also add a component. So this is a default component, default icon for a new component. We can add a new icon, and I have already prepared an icon for this component. It's something real simple. If I edit it, so it's simple letter Z, right, for the complex number. The point is that that component must be a bitmap file with dimensions of 24 by 24. Okay, and in order to add that icon to a component inside your package, you will need to use resources and images, and you will add that bitmap file. And what's important is that this identifier is has the same name as your component. In this case, it's going to be the complex number. Okay, and now install the package. Let's go to our test application. I didn't change the icon. Let me see. No, I didn't. Maybe I need to reload C++ Builder. Okay. Now we'll wait until it's loaded. Okay. And now I'm going to create a new VCL forms application. Go to the bottom, my components, and here we see a new icon. Okay, the icon was really changed after reloading C++ Builder, so that might be confusing, but okay, we managed to figure that out. And that's pretty much it. That's how you create a new component. So like I said, this is an introductory video for everyone starting with the component development. It's not really that hard, but like I said, when you will be working with some advanced components that will use property pages, maybe you'll have a bit more work, and well, I hope you find this useful and helpful. Thank you for watching, and see you later.